All right. So what up, folks? Welcome back to Dolphin Fan Voices podcast. We are late, but we're here. We are late, but we are here. Tomorrow is week one of the NFL season. Um, so let's go ahead and let's dive right on into this. Uh, I have the panel is just us two today. Go ahead and introduce yourself.
Hi, Ron Hyatt, lifelong Dolphin fan. I was literally born into the Dolphin fan club. Watched it growing up in the '70s on my dad's lap, and then just stayed with them all through. Out here in California, in Raider 49er country, and still representing the Dolphins all the time. Getting in good arguments and conversations in the bars. That's it.
My name is Isaiah. I grew up across the lake. I grew up across Lake Lucerne from Joe Robbie Stadium. I am a Miami Northwestern alum, also a Florida International University alum. I recently, well, not recently, because I've been in Atlanta for 2.5 years now. Um, so, folks, I'm a I was born as a Dolphin fan. I'll die as a Dolphin fan. Um, let's slide right into our podcast for the day. We are late, about 17 minutes late, man. I was running behind trying to hurry up and drive home. I found myself doing like 50 and like a 35, and a cop popped up, so I had to slow the hell down.
Ooh,
Uh, and I was dragging a trailer at the same time, so I had to slow the hell down. I didn't want to get no stupid ticket. But there's a lot to talk about. I guess before we start talking about the game that's gonna happen tomorrow, I want to talk about some of these roster moves that I don't quite understand what exactly happened with all of the moves. It seemed to me as if there was a bunch of flipping at the last second. I don't seem to understand that. What do you make of all of these roster moves that happened?
well, um, some of them are to try to build a better special teams. That's where they got that McAvoy guy from the Seattle Seahawks slash New Orleans Saints. When they cut him, he has connections to Darren Rizzi. Rizzi's known him since he was a baby, and he coached his older brother. And then the Bolden move is for special teams. That's why they went ahead and risk cutting Maurice Smith because they're comfortable with TJ Jones and Minka, and then okay with Akins as the fourth guy. The quarterback, I couldn't hardly tell you. From what I can see, is the reason why they have four is he Gase can't make up his mind between David Fells and Brock Osweiler, and then they worked out Luke Falk several times in the offseason and also interviewed him at the Senior Bowl and liked him, but they didn't draft him in the draft. So when he shook loose from Tennessee, we went ahead and claimed him, and apparently the Tennessee offensive coordinator uh, made a few social media posts that the Dolphins poached him because they apparently were trying to do the same thing, trying to shake loose the bottom half the roster, but they intended to keep Luke Falk, but we snatched him up. And so now they're not going to cut him to put him on the practice squad because they think they feel like that the Tennessee Titans will re-pick him up. And Gase really wants to keep him as a developmental guy.
So We're gonna roll it on this roster with four quarterbacks.
We could possibly roll with 4 all year long. Yeah,
Wow, that's insanely deep for a quarterback position to be. Seeing how weak I feel like we are at wide receiver right now.
I'm in the same boat as you. I scratch my head, but it's basically comes down to he likes both Brock Osweiler and David Fells and can't make up his mind. Even though if you just used analytics and did the numbers, David Fells is the better quarterback. If you believe your eyes all through OTAs and practice and training camps in the preseason practices, David Fells was more accurate. He had better command of the offense after the snap. The only thing that Brock Osweiler really brings is he's really savvy pre-snap. But we've seen him play enough to know that he can see it pre-snap, and then when the defense actually the ball gets hiked, the defense comes out of the disguise. He can't recognize what he sees after that, and he's constantly dinking and dunking it underneath. But the 6 wide receivers worries me because pretty much uh, Parker's probably out for at least the first 2 to 3 games because of his finger, and Jakeem Grant's kind of nicked up, even though he did get released out of the concussion protocol.
Yeah, it's. I mean, I feel like we're going into this first game of the season with what, three wide receivers right now. Seeing that Jakeem Grant is, gotten released from the concussion protocol, and then Devontae Parker, he's always banged up. And then you have Danny Amendola, who has a history of it. Like it's, I thought in this offseason with some of the other guys that we had, like Ford, and then you had Owosu. I felt like we were going to be pretty deep at wide receiver, and then it turns out that we are. I mean, it's one of the weakest positions on the damn field.
It is because you literally really can't trust Amendola to play all 16 games. He has only done it once in his entire 9 to 10 year career. And then Parker, that dude's been hurt all through his Louisville career in college and every single season with us in Miami. And he seems like he really doesn't like. They've interviewed him in the off season. He just seems like he doesn't care. He's on social media this off season, arguing with the Dolphins Twitter fans, calling them trash. They don't know what they're talking about, and I don't get it either. But I thought Ford did as much as he could with the opportunities he got. He balled out in practice. He even played hurt with the shoulder. Um, he looked explosive in the slot more so than Amendola. But I mean, Amendola, if he can stay healthy, he's a savvy veteran. He does bring some leadership. But the younger guys seem more explosive. I'm agreeing with you. But we cut Owusu, who does have special teams value. We cut him. We cut Ford. We cut Carew. But if we were going to cut Carew and say he's worthless at wide receiver, then what are we holding on to Parker for?
Exactly.
96 targets last year, and he only caught one less ball than Kenny Steals.
Yep.
But he only caught 1 touchdown. He's attributed with at least 5 turnovers.
Yep.
He costed us that Tampa Bay game.
Yep.
He took us out of the red zone two times.
Yep.
So we enter the season with Kenny Steals being reliable. You know he can play all 16 games. The last 2 seasons he's played the most snaps out of all the wide receivers. And then you have Albert Wilson, but he really is unproven. We don't know how durable he could be. He's only played was it 6 to 7 games at Kansas City?
Yep.
And then Jakeem, gets his opportunity, but man, he got that concussion, so you don't know, that shit can linger.
Yep.
And
All
it
right.
seems like we're depleted on the defensive line. We only kept 4 defensive tackles, and we're holding on to four quarterbacks and 5 running backs.
I don't. I don't.
And we get one injury. We lose. What do you take your pick at defensive tackle? We lose one of those. Then where are we at? And if it's Phillips or Vincent Taylor, there goes our run defense.
Yep.
And William Hayes isn't very durable, even though he's great against the run and he
Right.
could play inside outside. And the only player we kept on the D line that could actually move in and out is Charles Harris, but he wasn't effective this offseason doing that role
Right.
because we cut that Cameron Malveaux from Houston that
I
we
don't.
had undrafted from last year.
I didn't like that move at all.
And then I thought Kendall Langford was a wasted signing, but damn, dude, he come in with no practice, no prep, and he fucking balled out better than Hakeem Spence. And he's a guy like William Hayes. You can put him in at defensive end. You can put him in at defensive tackle. When he was here, when we drafted him in 2008, he did exactly that for uh, Coyle in the defense. He played inside, outside in the 3-4, but we cut him.
Wow.
All I can say is we better have a damn good special teams, keeping 5 fucking running backs.
Yep.
Because Perry's going to be active, and so is that Brandon Bolden. He's going to be active too, also, and they're both better in the special teams than they are actually carrying the balls.
Right. How, how big is Brandon Bolden?
I think he's 6 foot and about 220, 225. He has good hands,
Okay.
and he is legit above average on special teams. But I don't know how much he is in the running game, and I don't see him cracking Jakeem Grant or Kenyon Drake and Gore and our rookie Ballage. He surprised me. I knew he was going to be a good player, but I didn't think he was going to be this good this early. He looks like if Gase can actually use all 3 of those guys, we look like we have a really really deep backfield. Kind of like how the Eagles, Doug Peterson uses his stable of running backs because they got a Jai, that Clement kid. Sproles is healthy again, and they have that Smallwood kid. That's their 4 or 5 guys.
Right. All right. So tomorrow we play the Tennessee Titans, and I feel like this game is a perfect game to go after and see exactly how one of our biggest weaknesses is going to work out for us. Tennessee is a team that has a dual threat quarterback. That's been something over the years that has given us problems. And they have a good offensive line and a big running back there. Um, Tomorrow, to me, the keys to tomorrow's game, and I posted it on my Facebook earlier this week, is stopping the run, getting off the field, not giving up stupid penalties, and containing Marcus Mariota in the pocket and forcing him to beat us with his arm. His stats aren't great. If you look at his stats from last year, they weren't great last year. So I would feel more comfortable with Marcus Mariota having to stand in a pocket and having to throw and beat us rather than getting outside of the pocket and using his legs. What do you think, man? What do you think? What are your keys to tomorrow's game?
My keys is not letting Derrick Henry uh, get loose, because then that'll open up the RPOs, run pass options for Mariota. And then, like you said, we've struggled mightily against quarterbacks that can scramble. Like Tyrod Taylor just killed our defensive line every time we played the damn Bills. And that one time we played Michael Vick, even Jason Taylor had a hard time corralling the running game, and we couldn't contain either RG3 or Lamar Jackson in the preseason. I know it's preseason, but still,
Yep.
the scrambling quarterbacks give us fits. But if we can hold Derrick Henry from getting loose and we can contain the screens that we're going to see from Dion Lewis, who they brought over from New England, then I think we have a better than chance, because this new offensive coordinator for Tennessee took out the two tight end sets that Tennessee used all last year to effectiveness, and he took out the two running back packages. He went to a more three wide receiver set, one tight end, and Mariota I don't think is a very decent pocket passer. So they could play into our hands, but the screen for me, it's the screen game for Dion Lewis. If we can get our linebackers and safeties to come down and stop him, and containing Derrick Henry, and like you said, maintaining our pass rush lanes, stopping the run on the way to the quarterback, and then making sure that Mariota doesn't have an alley to run through. I think we that's a key to coming out. And then for on offense, my keys are is how are we going to use the three wide receivers,
Right.
and how big of a role is Gasecki actually going to play,
Right.
and if we can use more than just Kenyon Drake and Gore in the running game, I think we have a better than good chance, because I like our speed versus the slowness of the Titans defense, because their offense is going to be without Conklin at right tackle. So Wake gets to line up against a backup right tackle. And if they double Wake, then they're going to leave Quinn single. And we saw with Hayes last year, they couldn't block him last year either, inside or outside. He got one of his sacks in that game. I realized it wasn't Mariota, but still, they still had DeMarco Murray and Derrick Henry at running back, and then they had Delaney Walker at tight end. What is your keys for offense? What are you looking for?
My key to offense, I feel like Ryan Tannehill is a much better quarterback when we establish the run. We come out there and we put the ball in Kenyon Drake's hands 25, 30 times, especially if it's going to be raining tomorrow. I think it's very, very important that Kenyon Drake, Frank Gore, Kalen Ballage, those guys um, run the football. Um, the O line opens holes and allows those guys. I would love to see our running backs, especially Drake, allowed to get to the second and third level without being hit. Um, Too often when we watched uh, in previous years, he was getting hit in the backfield and having to make plays. I would love to see our running backs able to get down and get into the secondary and make some plays. Um, Turnovers, winning the turnover battle, not throwing turnovers, not turning the ball over. If it's gonna rain tomorrow, not being sloppy with the football, not putting the ball on the field, winning the field position battle. There are times when, as Dolphins, we will come out and you will see our offense be absolutely atrocious in the first half of the game, and then have to come back in the second half of the game. I want a fast start to this season. Let's come out ripping and moving the ball and putting points on the board. Not just 3 points, but actually putting touchdowns on the board. Uh, no penalties. Let's keep the penalties to a bare minimum. And I think we can definitely come out with a victory tomorrow. This is one of those games to me that we have to win. No ifs, ands, and buts about it. We've got to come in here and we got to beat teams like the Titans and these teams that are early, because in the later part of the season, man, there's a portion where we got the Jags, the Vikings, the Patriots. It's gonna be like jumping into a ring and having Muhammad Ali, uh, Mike Tyson, and Roy Jones all in your face at one time. You might beat one of them, but I don't know if we're gonna beat them all.
Yeah, and you got to throw Green Bay in there too, and they
Yeah,
just
I
signed
forgot about
two
Green
stud
Bay.
tight ends. So that you're right, that could get really that could be a bloody stretch down the end of November all through December.
Yep.
I'm curious because in the closed practices and some of the practices that were open, there were some of the plays that the Gase lined up. We were in two tight end sets a lot. We had Marquise Gray lined up at like tight on the inline or offset, standing behind the tackles on either side, and then sliding Gasecki and Derby, letting them go in motion, and then running opposite direction of the motion and using Gasecki and Derby as those crackbacks that Jarvis used to be famous for. Remember how we couple of games last year and the year before, some of the other teams' fans were calling Landry a dirty player for those crackbacks, like
Right.
coming down a blind side and knocking those dudes on their ass.
Yep.
And Smythe is going to be taking this Gray's spot since he's injured. I found out he has a blown Achilles tendon. He's out for till next year.
Shit.
And so that's why we went ahead and re-signed Gavin Escobar. He's going to come in. He'll be the fourth tight end off the bench. But our two rookies are going to be factored in heavy because now we're down to just the one blocking tight end from the Notre Dame guy we drafted in the fourth, Durham Smythe. So he becomes our power blocker.
Yeah. I think Marquise Gray is going to be missed way more than most Dolphin fans could imagine. But
I
we,
agree.
especially in the running attack.
Yeah, he lined up in line. He lined up at fullback. He lined up at H-back. Uh, all those big runs in 2016 with the Jai breaking free, starting with the Pittsburgh game, he was the fullback leading in through the hole. He was the one, if you looked at some of those big runs, he got key blocks to seal off the hole so he could make it through the line. Got him into, like you were saying, get our backs in the second and third levels. And then I like our chances better of them breaking and running over guys because they don't want to go down with just arm tackles, not even Drake. Drake's bigger than what people think. He's 6'1", like 218, 220. This year he come in look like he's like 240, but he's not. He's just rock solid. But the field had a soccer game on Friday, and today or tonight they're having the Canes play on the field, and then tomorrow we have our game against the Titans. That's three days in a row the field's getting used. So we could have another shit field like last year.
Yep.
I have a feeling we're going to line up Gesicki as a wide receiver. I would like to see a couple two-back sets have Gore and Drake on the field at the same time. Line them both up next to each side of Tannehill, and then have one go in motion or whatever, and you can play fake to either one. The defense has to respect the run for both Gore and Drake, and then both can catch the ball out of the backfield. So out of the play action, Ryan Tannehill is a really, really efficient quarterback out of play action.
Yes.
Yes.
Absolutely.
And then we can run and pass out of the same formations. That's what I've been wanting to see for the last 2 years from Gase is use one formation and then run 6 to 8 plays off the same one like the Philadelphia Eagles did last year. They would line up in one formation with the two tight ends. That Burton kid that went to the Bears, and then Ertz, and then they had either two tight ends out in the pattern, which ended up with having 4 or 5 wide receivers, depending on if the running back went out, or one of them can stay in and block, and you can run through out of it. You can play action pass out of it. You can even run gadget plays out of it. I would like to see us do that. We would run 3 wide receivers out. We'd have Drake Stills or Parker Stills and Jarvis out there, and then we'd have the sloth Julius Thomas out there. Send all of them out in the pattern. Then 2 plays later, they would put Parker and Jarvis on the bench, bring Grant and Carew out, and then run bubble screens. So they knew soon as they knew what we were doing. As soon as they brought in Grant, they knew it was either a screen to Grant or some kind of gadget to Grant or a screen pass to Stills with Jakeem blocking instead of Jarvis or Parker blocking. So they knew as soon as the personnel come in, they knew what the play was going to be. There was and that attributes to our struggles on the first drive. We don't have hardly any touchdowns in 3 years from our first drive. And that's where we get the slow starts.
Yep.
And last year, that's where Tunsil made his bonehead moves. He made 75% of his total penalties all year long were on the first drive. False starts. Yeah, Humpty Dumpty. And the sloth, yes. I was seeing John in the comments. I think right now, if we didn't sign Danny Amendola, the emergence of Isaiah Ford, we could have had one of the dangerous wide receiver cores, young, all locked up for 2-3 years in the league. Look what the Eagles did when they got made fun of. They sent that Matthews kid to the Bills for a draft pick, and they kept that Aguilar, who was being touted as one of those. He's the same draft as Devontae Humpty Dumpty came out of, and had similar, like you were saying about Carew. How do you know if a player is garbage when you can factor their whole career and they only got 10 targets?
Yeah, exactly.
The majority of their snaps was to come in to block, not to catch, not to run a route, but to block. So how do you know what you got? And the Eagles did the same thing, and they got made fun of. And what did Aguilar do last year? Him and Stills and Jarvis Landry and Bolden from the Seahawks were the highest ranked slot receivers in the NFL last year, and Larry Fitzgerald. He got his opportunity to finally line up where he should have been when Chip Kelly drafted him in the first, but they were trying to make him an X and a Z, and he's not.
Right.
He's a slot. And that's what I think that's what we're doing right now with all of our guys. And if you look at our roster, name one wide receiver we drafted, groomed, developed, and is playing on our team.
Exactly. We don't
We
do
signed Amendola from the Patriots. We signed Albert Wilson from the Chiefs. We traded Jarvis Landry for some toothpicks.
it.
We re-signed Kenny Stills, but we didn't draft him. We traded from the Saints for him.
Yep.
The only one we have on our team is Jakeem Grant in the sixth, but we don't. This is the year we get to find out if we've, groomed and developed. But there's no history of it.
Nope.
And you already pointed out many times the only first round wide receiver that did anything besides pick his nose was Chris Chambers in this 2000s. He's the only one. The other one other than that was OJ McDuffie, and that was in the 90s. You can't draft a first round wide receiver once every decade.
Right.
And I think that's where our roster management comes in. I question we seen Isaiah Ford do something, and he showed he had some toughness in him, that he wasn't Humpty Dumpty class, that he could play hurt, and he can still perform to a standard. I don't know. On paper, we have a good roster. I just don't know if we can use it. You pointed out all last year, how come we can't run Ajayi and Drake in the same backfield? Play action, pass out of it, and throw a wheel route to Drake, or use Drake as a play action, and then do a pitch or a jet sweep to Jakeem Grant or something.
Wow. When the Miami Dolphins take the field to kick off the 2018 season, they will be doing so with 19 new players on the active roster. We're going to be bringing 5 guys back who did not play or finish last season due to injury. That is 41% of our roster that's going to be basically, either new or didn't get to play last year, coming back. That includes Ryan Tannehill, Jawan James, Raekwon McMillan, William Hayes, Vincent Taylor, new guys like Luke Falk, Kalen Ballage, Bolden, Frank Gore, Danny Amendola. This is Albert Wilson, Kilgore, Baker, Cornell, Minka, a lot of new faces on um, this Miami Dolphin roster, and I really hope it works out for us. Folks,
Who do you want, Isaiah? If we do use a spy on Mariota, what linebacker do you think could do it? Do you think Jerome Baker,
I, it,
McMillan, or Alonzo?
um, it's gonna have to be Baker. I don't think nobody else has the speed or versatility to be able to do it. It's gonna piss me off. I'm telling you right now, it's gonna piss me off if Shaquem Griffin goes out there and has a great season.
Yeah,
I
he's a starter on their defense right now, lined up next to Wagner.
I'm gonna be so fucking pissed because he was a 5th round draft pick and now he's a starter.
I know. Me and you talked about it during the Senior Bowl. This has got to be our guy. We were in agreement. And then seeing him in the drafts last till the 5th round, I was sick to my stomach. I think if we spy with Alonzo, let him blitz up the A and B gaps, and leave Jerome out in coverage, because we're going to have to deal with uh, Dion Lewis and running out into the passing, and Delaney Walker. I would rather have Baker out there in coverage with his speed than Alonso. Let Alonso rush the quarterback, flush him into Quinn and Wake on the outside, leave him out of coverage. That's what I would like to do. I'd like to see, because I think if we force Mariota to throw it with the advent of Minka Fitzpatrick, because he and most likely he's going to be playing in the slot, and the Titans don't really have very good wide receivers. And if they want to try to force three wide receivers down our throat at 6 foot and 205 pounds, I think he matches up with his speed and size. And he did it in Alabama. I think the Tennessee Titans are playing right into our hands.
Yep.
And you just blitz Alonzo. Don't let that dude go out there in coverage and blow this fucking game for us. And just turn Jones and McDonald loose in the box. Let them come down, devastate dudes doing those stupid crossing routes, those little hitches, and Jones has a nose for turnovers. 2 years ago, and when we lost to the Titans, he picked Mariota off and run it in for a touchdown. Last year, Kiko Alonso caused Castle to fumble. He scooped it and scored. Was one of our only touchdowns. The defense scored more points than the offense. But I'm with you. I hate to see Seattle get a home run at linebacker in the fifth.
Exactly.
And we had more than just one opening on our linebacking core. We don't know what we're getting with McMillan as a second-round draft pick. Baker, his scouting report was lower than Griffin's. We
Yep.
took him in the third. The Seattle got to take the better linebacker, graded linebacker in the fifth.
Yep.
And we had more than just one spot. We need to replace Kiko Alonso, and we need a strong side linebacker that doesn't go AWOL.
Yep. Oh
And
man.
I think Chase Allen's a good linebacker, but I don't think he has the speed to do what we want to do. I think our best formation would be to put Kenny in the slot lined up right next to Gesicki in the slot. Have Wilson as the Z, Grant as the X, Drake in the backfield lined up in the shotgun with Ryan Tannehill, and we can run and pass out of that because we could use Gesicki to block for Stills if we run those stupid bubble screens, or we can use Stills and Gesicki to clear out the underneath comeback to Wilson on the outside on the same side, or we can flip the formation and do the same thing where Jakeem got that long touchdown against the Chiefs. I don't know. What do you think?
I,
I'd like to see Stills lined up in that slot because I like to see him get that short Adoree Jackson. Man, that's going to be pitch and catch all day long.
yeah.
Lined up against our third corner.
And
That's 5'9".
and Butler.
He's 6'1". Fuck, dude. That's
Stick Jakeem Grant.
huh?
Malcolm Butler could not stick Jakeem Grant.
Nope. And he tried press, and that's when he dropped that long, beautiful touchdown. Would have been a touchdown.
Yep.
But he mossed him in the end zone. And Jakeem has strong hands. I slowed that play down several times. You could see where Butler actually got his hand in between Jakeem's two hands, and the ball didn't even move, not even a millimeter.
Right.
He skied right over top of Butler. You think they'll line up Butler on Jakeem again, or you think they'll line him up on Stills?
I don't know. To me, it seemed like Butler gave Stills more problems than he gave Grant.
He did.
Jakeem was able to get loose on him, and Stills had issues on him.
Stills don't like. He still hasn't gotten his hand fighting good enough. When you get your hands on him, like Howard does, and Butler usually does, when he gets that press and gets a hand on him, he's not strong enough to get off, even though he's a bigger body. That's why I like him in the slot, because we can line him up off the ball a little bit,
Right.
lined up behind or side by side to Gesicki. And then Gesicki they can run crossing routes right there on the inside in the slot. And we already seen that Tampa Bay game. You went crazy.
Yep.
Gase did the same formation, and he ran towards like he was going to do the post, and the safety bit down hard, and the linebackers rushed up to the hash to take that away, and then he bent it outside, and there was no one there. That's why I like him in the slot. He uses his speed, and he's a good enough route runner. But for some reason at the line of scrimmage, he doesn't really fight all that well. But if they line Butler up on Stills, man, dude, Jakeem and Wilson are going to eat.
Yep. Yep.
Can you imagine if Adoree Jackson covers Gesicki like he tried last year and did a good job against the sloth, Julius Thomas?
He's gonna get burned.
Dude, Gesicki is going to eat that dude. It's shrimp.
He should be able to. Oh man, I see Jay's in the building. Hey, what's going on, Jay?
Hey, what's up, bro? How are you?
What's up, Jay?
Nothing much, man. I just was here at the gym getting a little workout in.
Hey, what are your thoughts on this Dolphin versus Titan game coming up tomorrow?
Well, for me, it's not a lot of science. It's not a lot of logic going into it. Control the clock, run the ball. We know that this Titans team is a physical team. So for me, it's run the ball with King and Drake, control the clock, get Ryan Tannehill out on the play action pass, and just play smart football. This team doesn't really scare me. We know that we kind of go through it with mobile quarterbacks, and we know that Marcus Mariota is a mobile quarterback. And do you guys have an echo going on or something like that, or is that coming from my end?
Yeah, I was just hearing it.
Yeah, it's really bad. So I don't know if it's me or.
Is it me?
Is it coming on my end? Oh.
It sounds like it. Hello?
I can hear you.
Jay? And hey, just for the record, there are. I feel like I answered this question a million times. I'm constantly asked, "Are you going to stream the game on your page?" It's like every day question or an every week question. I've been filming games and putting them on my Facebook page for the last year and a half. I don't quite understand why. Let me tell you how this comes. You know how when you're out with kids and you're driving, and every 3 seconds, are we there yet? Are we there? That's how this shit is. Every like, yo, yeah. Listen, yeah. I'm filming. I will be streaming the game on my page, right? I will stream every game on my page. Only way I'm not going to stream a game is if something happens. Like, I think I missed one little preseason game, and that was because I had a family emergency, and I was at the hospital. That was it. Other than that, yes, I will be streaming. We're not there yet. All right? Anyway, man, Ron, do you have any final thoughts before we go ahead and wrap this one up?
No, just fins up. Hope to see everybody at the stream tomorrow on your timeline.
All right, folks. Tomorrow, 1 o'clock. If you're not on my Facebook page, make sure that you join my Facebook page. If you're listening to this video, go ahead and share the video on your Facebook, on your Twitter. Dolphin Fanboy Podcast. We're gonna do a post-game short video tomorrow, just to talk about exactly what we saw. The game's at 1 o'clock, so I'm not gonna be knocked the hell out. I did not get any preseason games in their entirety, and part of the reason why is because I've been getting up at 4 o'clock in the morning to get to work. So by the time 10, 11 o'clock comes, the game is watching me. Anyway, folks, I will see you. Well, not see you. I will talk to you guys tomorrow. Dolphins, Titans tomorrow. Let's pray that we start this season on a 1-0 note. The offense comes out clicking, no injuries, and the defense plays well. We are out of here tomorrow. I would say 4:30, 5 o'clock, whenever the game is over. Make sure that you tune in, and I'll talk to you guys next time. Peace.
Peace.